So let's continue with our form. Let me get rid of all this and start fresh. So form, first thing you want to create a div with the class name of form control. Using bootstrap class, create a label, and this one will be used for name. So your name, and then we create input, type of text, and class name. It's going to be form control. Oh sorry, this one has to be, the div has to be form group, and this one is form control. And then placeholder, also we can give placeholder. Let's write enter name and value. So each input will have their own value. When user starts typing, that value will be available. However, we don't want this input to control its value itself. We want our state to control its value, so that this becomes a control component. So whenever we user type something in, we grab the value. Let me write another onChange handler, onChange. So when user types something in, onChange event handler will execute, and then on this one we get the event, and we use this event to access the user's input and set in the state. So set name, and we can access that user input from event.target.value. You can also console log event if you're curious what this object contains, but we just want the value of that. All right, so once you do this, once you have the onChange handler, anything user types here will be available here in the state. Now we can use this state as its value, so that way our state controls this component. All right, so that is pretty much it. That is for name. Let's copy this one, copy this div, paste one more time, and this one is for password, oh sorry, email address. So the type is going to be email, class name form control, placeholder, you can write enter email, value is going to be email, and on change we set email. So here we have name, we have email. I'm not sure how that changed to email. All right, so that is it. Now let's copy and paste one more time for password. And here password, so the type is going to be password, enter password, value is password, onChange set password. Okay, perfect. So we have name, email, and password field. We need to have a button as well, so let's create a button. Let's give it a class name of button primary, and here we can give this button a name. Let's call it submit. All right, so let's have a look here. Let me put it in the sidebar. Okay, so we have name, email, and password. Okay, so they're a bit congested. Let's have a look at our class names. Let's visit the bootstrap docs so that we can have a look at this some of the examples as well. Let's go to docs, and you can search here. Let's search for forms, and you can see we want to create something like that. So what they have done here, they have just form, used bit of a margin bottom. They have class name for label, so we can use that as well. Class name form label. Okay, we can use that. And they have used form control on the input. Okay, let's give it a try. So label, class name form label, input, they have that one. They have the margin bottom as well. So margin bottom, let's use 3 on each div, and then we added this class name to label. Let's have a look. Okay, I think that's slightly better, so let's continue with that. Let's do the same here. Let me grab this form label, come here, label, class name, form label, again here, class name, form label, and on each div we use margin bottom 3, and for the very first one also we have the same already. Perfect. Okay, so that's better. We can have a bit of a space on top as well, so the form can have class name as well. So class name, adding a margin top, let's use 3. Okay, so that looks better. Okay, so we have this register form. At the moment it doesn't do anything. You hit submit, we see that, and you see the page also reloads, because this is a default behavior. When the button is clicked, the page reloads, it submits, you can see here. So we need to prevent that default behavior, and let's try to access this username, email and password. Let's make sure we have that. Once we have that, we can send it to backend. All right, so for that we can work on handle submit. So let me get rid of this one. So this is the event handler submit. So you get the event, we can use event dot prevent default function to make sure the page does not reload when you hit submit. Okay, so that's one. And let's console table, let's have a look at our data, what we have. So we have name, email, password. Let's make sure we have everything here before we make a request to backend. Okay, so once you submit, name, email at gmail.com, let's just write some random strings, hit submit, and you can see here we have been able to grab these values from the state, name, email and password. Perfect. So this is all we need to send to our backend, so that with this information we can create a new user and save in the DB.